We have a lot going on in Aries this week, which has me thinking about all things hot and spicy. One of those hot and spicy things I've been contemplating is hot sauce. I was thinking the other day about how people usually have really strong opinions about which hot sauce is best. Despite my super fiery nature, I actually cannot handle spice. My Libra rising is delicate and will not accept capsaicin of any kind without extreme repercussions. This doesn't mean I don't season my food. Don't come for me. I season my food. I just don't like my food to bite me back. I don't like it to hurt me. In the spirit of Aries season, I want to ask you, dear listener, to let me know what your favorite hot sauce is. If you're listening on Spotify, you can leave a comment. I know that's where most of you listen because analytics tell me. I'm personally out here repping for Texas Pete, which is basically just red vinegar, but it's all I can handle spice-wise. So again, don't come for me over it. I season my food, but I just don't want it to hurt me while I'm eating it. While you contemplate the philosophy of hot sauce, I'll report the weather. So let's get into this week's forecast. Not counting the generational planets, everything is in fire and water. And the fire we're getting is Aries and only Aries. The water is varied a little between Pisces and Cancer, but the fire energy is all Aries right now. This means the majority of the aspects for the week are going to come from the realm of cardinal fire. Aries is an area of our lives that is going to pick up steam fast. We were all about Pisces for so long. I feel like I've beat the horse of Pisces to death at this point. But now Aries is becoming the central focal point for a lot of what we have going on and the energy that we're going to feel around us in general. The week kicks off with an aspect that was building at the end of last week, which was the Sun conjunct Neptune. That reaches its height today, Sunday, March 22nd. So we're starting the week with a little bit of a haze and maybe confusion or angst or haste around this area of life. Take Aries slow and steady and try to not let yourself be consumed by rage bait or seeing red over things that shouldn't have any bearing over you, that don't really matter. This aspect will wane pretty quickly, so once we get into the swing of things for the week, the random bouts of frustration or the feeling of grinding our gears is definitely going to dissipate. Speaking of grinding gears, Mercury stationing direct means that everything is starting to move forward again within the realm of Pisces and the world at large. Mercury is still in its place of detriment. We cannot forget that. So things won't be perfect and marvelous, but they will be trending in a new direction this week. Mercury doesn't have any impactful aspects with other planets this week other than Rahu, the North Node. This is because Mercury stationed directly on top of Rahu at 8 degrees. Like I said, we're moving in a new direction and things are starting to wake up again, but don't expect miracles just yet. Mercury is going to move a whole 3 degrees this week because it's still gaining planetary speed. So consider this the warm-up lap for Mercury to get itself right again. The retrograde shadow period isn't just at the start of a retrograde. It also impacts the end. I have the exact dates of Mercury's shadow period in my retrograde guide, but I know it goes into April. So just give yourself a warm-up lap within the realm of Pisces before you go asking for the world. The last week of Mercury's retrograde was wild. I can say that. It wasn't bad. I'm not eating my words. I got a good laugh from this. My friend had emailed me frantically saying how I need to warn her if I'm going to go off the grid and that she needed to reach me now, quickly. And the reason for her frantic nature was because I'm known for going ghost. And this is someone I've known since middle school. All my friends are from friends way back when, so they know me really well. And they know that I'm prone to disappearing and I don't have social media and I change my phone number occasionally. So she was just like, it finally happened. She went off the grid. But it was just Mercury retrograde tricks. My phone had been acting so weird all day. I could text, but I couldn't make calls. So that was kind of how my Mercury retrograde ended, with me just chuckling at the absurdity of me finally going totally off the grid but not telling anybody, when really I was just like, brother, I'm sitting at my desk. I hope your retrograde also ended in a lighthearted or funny kind of way. But expect a few more of those twists and turns as the retrograde dwindles. It's kind of nice that Mercury isn't making any aspects this week because we can let this area of life just simmer for a bit. It's like when you have that boiling pot and it's like, all right, it's been boiling for 3 minutes and put it on a simmer. We're putting it on simmer. The new moon last week in Pisces and Mercury retrograde stationing direct can just take the week to propagate, and we can just let it be for a minute, let it simmer. We'll have enough within the realm of Aries to keep ourselves occupied this week so Pisces can sort itself out a bit. It feels like when your computer freezes and when you mash a bunch of buttons, and then when it comes to, it has to go through the backlog of all the buttons you mashed. Maybe that's just me, but you get the point. It's the boiling pot that's on simmer. It's the buttons that have been mashed that are now catching up. Let Pisces settle as Mercury gets his bearings and as those new moon intentions take hold. Enjoy the little wins and adjust to the minor aches and pains as they arise, but try not to fixate on Pisces because that was last week. Fixating on Pisces was last week. This week we are fully locked in to Aries. So we know we're starting off with the Sun conjunct Neptune, and once that fades, the Sun runs into Saturn. Saturn and Neptune finally have a nice orb of separation, but by Wednesday, the Sun is going to bridge that gap, and it's going to be conjunct with Saturn. This is going to instill a seriousness within us. We'll feel haste and like we want to make something happen within the realm of Aries. This is technically a Saturn Cazimi. I feel like these aren't talked about as much, but they are super cool and super crucial. I've had some major life events come about when a Saturn Cazimi took place. The most notable being my divorce papers had come through around that time and they were being finalized, things with lawyers and divorces and what have you. But that was finalized on a Saturn Cazimi. So that was cool. And it was seeing that, okay, this is something serious. This has finality, longevity to it. They only happen once a year because the Sun passes by Saturn once a year. So they are a lot more, I don't like the word rare in astrology. People try to use that as like, ooh, it's special, it's rare. But it is a little more rare than, say, a Mercury Cazimi or a Venus Cazimi. So it is something to pay attention to. This will be our first Saturn Cazimi while Saturn is in Aries, which also feels really notable. Saturn Cazimis are a time when we get more serious about our long-term goals, things become more solidified, or we're working with the concepts of boundaries and discipline. Since Saturn in Aries is so new, this first Cazimi might be more about testing the waters and thinking about how we want to commit or how we can take on more responsibility or be more serious within the realm of Aries. This will likely change by the time the next Cazimi comes around, and with Neptune on the heels of both Saturn and the Sun, we might not get it right this time, but what matters is that we're trying and we're chipping away at something. We're putting direct, pointed effort towards a goal, and that goal should pertain to the realm of Aries. It's okay if the next time the Cazimi comes around, things change. I actually hope they would, simply because we'll have more wisdom. We'll have gone through more trials and tribulations with Saturn. So as this first one comes about, don't overthink it. Just kind of shoot from the hip with it. That's what Aries would do. Shoot from the hip and be just okay with where you land and stay focused on the goal or whatever it is that you decide to commit yourself to. It can change later. On the same day as the Saturn Cazimi, the Sun also partakes in a sextile with Pluto. Saturn will also be making the same sextile with Pluto throughout the week. It'll last a lot longer for Saturn because it moves so slow. But on Wednesday, both the Sun and Saturn will be in range for that sextile. This is going to add a little Plutonian spice to Saturn's Cazimi and the agenda of the Sun in Aries. Is Plutonian spice your favorite hot sauce? I guess we'll find out this week after we see what it brings to the table. Pluto's influence means that the realm of Aquarius is yet again an important part of the puzzle. It's a place that we can derive power from and find deeper motivations for the work we're trying to put in, and ultimately the long-term goals we're wanting to achieve. The middle part of the week hits us with a serious need to evaluate the realm of Aries and how we're utilizing our skills, time, and energy in that area of our lives. Aquarius can inspire us and empower us, but we need to commit to putting in the work, and that's what the Cazimi is going to push. The only other notable aspect for the week is, again, you guessed it, in Aries. On Thursday, we have a conjunction between Venus and Chiron. This is going to highlight wounds around relationships, both personal and business, regardless of whether or not Aries is a relationship house for you. If Aries is a more social or relationship house for you, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 11th, then you can definitely expect wounds to be spurred around partnership. This isn't a bad thing. I promise, this is not a bad thing. Venus and Chiron meeting is actually a chance to move past the pain, to heal the wound, to create avenues for forgiveness, and move past whatever hurt you've been carrying. Venus is all about reconciliation and forgiveness and harmony and unity. So when Venus and Chiron meet up, that's a chance to put a Band-Aid on something or to peel the Band-Aid back and fully see like, wow, actually I am healed. I don't need this Band-Aid anymore. Venus is in detriment in Aries, so it knows that love isn't perfect and that sometimes you have to fight for your harmony, for your love, for beauty, all those bohemian ideals. And I've been saying this for a few months now, but we understand the assignment with Chiron and Aries at this point. The wounds aren't fresh. They aren't even festering anymore, really. We're at a point where we either stay mad and stay hurt by our own choosing, or we choose to heal, grow, forgive, and move on. Venus is a benefic, regardless of it being in detriment. That detriment doesn't change Venus's agenda or make it any less benefic. It just goes about it in a way that might not be the most typical Venus fashion. This conjunction between Venus and the wounded healer towards the end of the week will be a chance to move on and feel more dignified in our experience with our hardships and our wounds. We need to think about reopening, not the wound, but our hearts. We're past the point of festering and stewing and sitting in our anger. We're well beyond that. And between Saturn's Cazimi and Venus's conjunction with Chiron, we're making both amends and taking an oath to work towards something new. What we put our efforts towards may put pressure on our wounds, and they might test our healing in the coming months, but we have to try. We may have to move on, and we may have to put our pain within the realm of Aries behind us because Saturn is coming. Call me Jon Snow, but Saturn is coming. Fun fact, my husband has never seen Game of Thrones, so I'm rewatching it with him, and it's been so fun to see his reactions in real time. I'm a Jaime Lannister stan, and I won't be elaborating. Venus in Chiron is really giving us an opportunity to not just heal, but ultimately forgive. And this is my PSA about forgiveness. I'm a huge forgiveness person. I'm big on the Buddhist ideals of forgiveness and needing to do that to heal. You don't actually need to face-to-face forgive someone, to let go, to release that pain. Forgiveness comes in many forms. And so when I say we need to reconcile, we need to forgive, we need to reunite or find harmony, that doesn't mean that you go up to the person who like completely wrecked your life or did something abysmally horrible to you and say, I forgive you. It doesn't need to be like that. Forgiveness can happen just within your own heart. We need to forgive people in a safe way for us that the hurt doesn't happen again. Because remember, Venus is in Aries. We're still protecting ourselves, but we're being strong enough and brave enough and believing in ourselves enough that we can forgive in a safe way and a way that allows us to open our hearts again. Because that forgiveness is going to set us free and allow us to recommit ourselves to the realm of Aries in a new way via Saturn's Cazimi. This can even be self-forgiveness, self-loathing, self-hatred. We're letting it go. It takes a lot of courage to forgive others and ourselves, or to be the one asking for forgiveness. But the energy for reconciliation is really backing us this week, and I want you to use it as you see fit. Thank you for tuning into this week's forecast. If you want a more detailed look at what this week's astro weather holds for you personally, go to my website, moonmattersastrology.com, and sign up to receive my zine. You can also find me on Patreon by searching for Moon Matters. The best way to keep up to date with my work or to book a reading with me is to sign up for my mailing list on my website. I'll meet you back here next week, but until next time, later days.